There is one thing I've noticed. Well, I've noticed it ever since I began to walk by faith. When I was 14, 15, I became born again at around 13. So when I really began to grow in knowledge, began to walk by faith, I noticed that the moment you begin to exercise judgment, people tend to lose it. I'm not talking about condemnation. You point the finger at other people and make people feel bad about their lives. I'm not talking about that. The moment you discern things as they are and you line up your thinking with Christ and you relate to whatever it is you've judged in line with Christ, the moment you do that, people lose it. They can't handle it. Let me explain what I mean. For example, let's say you are at a job, you're teaching in high school, and it's a colleague. And this colleague has a romantic relationship with a guy, but that this guy is too attached to his parents. And her family-in-law is quite toxic and even dangerous. When she's at the job, she's often tired. So one day, the colleague talks to you about her issues and you ask her, let's say her name is Brenda, I'm just making up a name here. The colleague says, Brenda, have you ever considered that your family-in-law may not be good for you? And she's shocked that you said it. And you continue, Brenda, this guy you're with him for 4 years, right? She says, yes. I remembered when you came working here the first time. Me and my wife saw you. You were quite joyful, quite happy. Now, you're totally not the type of woman you used to be. You're drained all the time. You're quite pessimistic. It's as if someone is draining the life source out of you. And haven't you noticed that it's since you got involved with this guy that you turned out like this? And she looks even more shocked. And you tell her, listen, Brenda, I'm not here to control you. I'm not into that. I'm just telling you as it is. That guy, if you want to keep him around, it will be at your own expense. If you want to live and to be free and to recover, you need to get rid of that guy. Straight up. And let's say now Brenda listens to you and cuts off the guy. She breaks the relationship, she kicks him out of her home, and slowly she recovers. But here's the thing. When Brenda kicked the guy out, Brenda confessed to the guy, to her ex, that you, her co-worker, told her the truth and that her eyes were opened. So she gave you credit for opening her eyes. But here's the catch here. Brenda did the right thing by kicking the guy out. But that guy now will remember that the only reason why Brenda's eyes were opened was because you told her the truth. You operated in sound judgment. So what's going to happen now? That narcissist, that loser, will try to get back into Brenda's graces. It won't work. Why? Brenda has been blessed by you operating in sound judgment. What's going to happen now is that the narc, together with the narc's relatives, are going to turn on you. You had nothing to do with the narc turning into a narc. You had nothing to do with their dysfunctional family dynamics. And you didn't even have anything to do directly with the narc's involvement with Brenda, your colleague. You were involved with Brenda because Brenda is a colleague, but you were not involved directly with what's going on between Brenda and the narcissist. But when Brenda came to you and she needed help, you operated in sound judgment. As you should. You did not become like a pseudo-therapist to Brenda so Brenda could cry out with you and then return back to the same mess. You did not turn on her like a Pharisee, begin to throw stones at her. You operated in sound judgment. As you should. That's healthy. And fortunately for Brenda, she listened. But now you're dealing with the narcissistic rage and the narcissistic backlash of groups of people that are coming against you. Now, if you have the Lord and you are in agreement with Christ, they can't come too close to you, but they will form psychic attacks against you by meditating negatively upon you. They will do witchcraft on you. They'll spread rumors about you. They'll go crazy after you. They'll become obsessed with you. And well, I just want to warn you. I'm talking to believers now, okay? To those that want to agree with Christ. I'm not talking to everyone here. When you operate in sound judgment, be ready to face persecution. Be ready to face contention here and there. Be ready that you need to overcome and overrule a lot of stuff. Operating in sound judgment is correct. Not only towards others, also towards yourself. For example, if you grew up with a parent that was very negative-minded, you need to be real to yourself in sound judgment. This parent is out of his mind or out of her mind. This parent should not have any influence upon me. And I should lower my contact with this individual because they persist in the negative. And if they attack me for doing the right thing, I cut them off. I'm not going to tolerate danger in my environment. That's how you ought to be. But when you do this and you lower contact with a toxic parent, people are going to retaliate against you. Why? Because you're operating in the right manner. You're doing what's right. But because the people around you enable the wrong, they now have to face they've enabled the wrong. And so now they need to give an account why they enabled the wrong. And they can't because they can't justify it. So now, because they don't want to face themselves, they project this conflict onto you. They make you the problem. And you may face a lot of external difficulties in your life because people decide they have wills against you. That's how it goes in this world. I'm being real here. Yes, you should walk in love, you should walk in forgiveness, all of that. Just realize you have hardcore relief seekers that just want relief at all costs. And people operating in sound judgment is the last thing they want. Now listen, there are messed up people out there that will admit they're messed up and they're willingly to receive from you. You have such people. Not everyone that has some bad energy around them intends to harm you, intends to do you dirty. Okay? There are people that need help. There are people that need deliverance. But there are also people you need to be delivered from. Often people don't see the difference between the first category and the second category. It's very important to realize this. I've spoken about this a lot in the past. And just a reminder to you, operating in sound judgment does not mean that you are going out there being the civil judge of people. Of course you won't do that because you don't have the desire to do this. Because remember, you're not there to control people. You don't want that. You just operate in sound judgment in line with Christ, as you should. Just realize that sometimes it's better not to exercise sound judgment, not because there's anything wrong with sound judgment, but because the people around are not worth it. When Christ said, do not throw your pearls before swine, do not cast your pearls before swine, he was speaking in the context of sound judgment. Don't you know that there are people who don't want sound judgment? They do want judgment, but it's negative judgment, relief-seeking judgment. They want to point the finger at other people and blame other people. They want the so-called easy way out, which isn't easy to begin with. Don't you know there are people who just don't want to face any reality? Don't you know there are people who just don't want to face anything in life? I mean it, there are people who don't want to face anything in life. Even minor things that aren't even a problem, they don't want to face. Yes, you have such people. And if you are someone who does face things in life the right way, guess what's going to happen? Those who don't want to face anything are then going to project their avoidance onto you. And they're going to accuse you of not wanting to face life, even though it's them doing it. Please, when you encounter such people, don't go into it. Just walk away, or just use your mouth to shut them down. You don't have to. Don't shout at them. Don't argue with them. Just if they project onto you that you're stupid, then let them think you're stupid, so they will back down from you. Because if they claim you're stupid and keep hanging around you, it will backfire on them. Listen what I'm saying. If they claim you're stupid, if they're projecting that onto you, and they keep arguing with you, they will be humiliating themselves. Don't argue with them. Don't take the bait. Listen, some folks just don't want to face anything, even if facing something is their way out of the misery. Some prefer the misery over freedom. It sounds very dumb. It sounds very unnatural, because it is dumb and it is quite unnatural. But you have such people, they prefer their misery over real freedom. I'm telling you, I'm going to repeat it one more time. There are people that prefer misery over freedom, because in misery, there's this sense of relief, this sense of this self-validation they're clinging onto. In freedom, they need to give up that self-validation. But because they're so invested in securing self-validation, they will refuse freedom, but at the same time complain that they have no freedom. Because they've surrendered themselves to misery. They attach themselves to misery. So to escape this conflict, so they won't have to experience cognitive dissonance, they will project it onto you when you are operating in freedom. Well, that's it for now. Agree with Christ and be at peace.